All right, I'm back. I'm very late with this one, but One Piece chapter 1120, and I'm very excited. I actually have more criticisms, mildly so, just bringing up my main issues with Egghead that was kind of highlighted to me in this chapter than it was previous chapters. I do apologize for this one coming out late. I was back in Newfoundland. I love being home. There was a family reunion slash anniversaries. Very, very stressful, I'm sure. Like, you can imagine, so stressful. And then my 3-hour flight got turned into like a 9-hour flight with all the delays. So fun times. But One Piece makes everything better. So, where do we even start off with this one? 26 years ago in Punk Hazard, and I was so happy to see this. Vegapunk has really, really grown on me. I don't know if he's like a favorite character in the series. He's working his way up there. Once I reread Egghead, I think he might be one of my favorite characters, just for his role in the story. He's always been this kind of looming presence, whispered in the distance. This was his technology, his name's been going out there, and then to meet him and dive into him and his history with Kuma and everything, I'm really liking Vegapunk. So to see him 26 years ago, when he still had his big giant head, working in Punk Hazard as a government researcher, and for then Clover to show up asking him to research the Void Sentry, and he's turning him down the same way he turned down Dragon. Like, you don't have the resources for me, Dragon. I'm gonna be no use to you. I need the government to fund my projects and research everything. And then him talking to Clover and just being like, the future is what we should be looking at. Whether that is, we learned that the past is our way to the future because there are so more technology and advanced in that way, or if he's just working on the present, staying out of trouble so he can make life better now while looking into the sins of the past. But Clover is begging him to help him. There's also dragons in the background, and we knew this because Zoro and Luffy killed Native Dragon on Punk Hazard before, and now I'm a little bit mad at my boys because dragons. There was probably more dragons than stupid Caesar the Clown set off the nuke thing, and so we could have had more dragons in this world. Side note, tinfoil hat theory, that is the celestial dragons who want Vegapunk to make dragons for them. Maybe we could have had like a dance of dragons going on. But I do think that hopefully dragons will come more into play, whether it's with the Uranus being powered. I've said before, like, I think there's a creature for each ancient weapon, and I'm wondering if that will play a role. But regardless, talking to Clover, who is begging Vegapunk to help him because he himself has been personally affected by the prosecution and what happened to those with name D in their name. His own brother had been killed simply for having the name of D, and he had to deny his own brother, saying, no, he was just my friend, I am not related to him. So to say that there's something in the past so atrocious that you can be killed just for stating the name you were born with. And that's sort of how people with the name D are seen here. They're hiding, they got a secret name. A lot of pirates have a name D, but then you have like Garp, who's also has a D in his name, and the government seems absolutely chill with it. Whether it's because as Garp, he's loyal to the Marines, but like, how did he get to that position that the Marines could trust him? So I'm wondering if in the past they were hunting down anyone with a D in their name, and it has gotten to a point now, it's like, okay, the name D is already out there. If we make too big of a deal with it and draw too much attention to it, saying that the people will notice that we care about the fact that this person has D, so let's just kind of ignore it, deal with it in secret. Maybe? I don't know. Rather than outright executing somebody because their name has a D in it. Or was Clover's brother researching it because of the D and learned something that he shouldn't, and it was just the reason that was given for killing him, despite it also being related to researching other things. Who knows? It also works very well because now we know that Clover has the D in his name. And my original theory with the Willa D was it being part of an original crew, like with a captain, a historian, scholar. You have your swordsman and like the mighty warrior of the sea who spins tall tales / gunslinger. I felt like each member that we would learn about with the D in their name would correspond to original crew, and then Blackbeard and Zebek could be like, you have a traitor among the crew, or maybe a corruption of this Willa D. And I love a good corruption arc. But then I'm like, wait a minute, Joy Boy wants the ancient weapons to be carried on into the future. Why do you want weapons in the future? I mean, are you perpetuating, continuing this war? Do you want to continue this fight because the fight is the right thing to have? Or were you corrupted by something? I do like corruption arcs, so I kind of want Joy Boy to have been corrupted by his own power and then trust the future. Someone will have the purest form of his power and be able to do what he couldn't. So either way, I don't know what's going on here. Vegapunk is giving him very good advice, saying that, why do you think you've been captured so many times and escaped or released? It's because they're following you, they're tracking you, they want you to lead them to your allies and round you all up. That's the only reason that you're still alive. And he says, listen, I can't help you, but I'll forget this conversation ever happened. They're having this conversation in a government facility. It's not a good area to be talking about this. But Clover sings out to him, like, the voices of the past will be heard or something like that. You can't ignore them forever. So I'm assuming he's referring to, like, the voices of all things, or just the people in the past will need justice. They have set something up to tell us now in the future what is going on. And later on, they talk about the voices, like, those beneath the sea or something like that. I'll get the line when I get to that point in the story. And I'm like, literally? No. Voice of all things? We heard it with the Sea Kings. Zombies. Water zombies. Ancient hieroglyphics buried beneath the sea, because we seen Jinbei with a poneglyph down there one time. I don't know, something about them saying about voices beneath the sea. I'll get to the exact line when I get to that point in the story. But... and then having learned that the world flooded and clearly a lot of people drowned. That little detail kind of stuck out to me. There was then 22 years ago with the Buster Call, and Caesar the Clown is celebrating. It's like, no one will research the Void Century after this. And Vegapunk feels the weight of him turning his back on his friends, to live a life of safety, to research for the future, research on the government's dime, turning his back on the past, and now he's seeing the consequences of those who research there, and maybe if he had helped them, they wouldn't be in this situation. And he's thinking, like, you fool, don't you see the consequences of your actions? What a lunatic you had to be to risk certain death just to research the past. Like, who would do such a thing? Cut to now, where he is the lunatic, risking his life, knowing it will mean certain death, and caused his certain death. Preparing for his certain death by researching the Void Century to get that message of the past to the worlds, and he's hoping that the message made it to people, but clearly it hasn't. Can we recover the transponder signal from the Iron Robot and get the full message? There's an also little side note where he says, somebody once told me that the voices of the past will be heard, referencing Clover, and that the history is written by the victors. Now that seems like a direct Dofi reference to me. Is Dofi's family going to come into this? Probably not. We're probably still talking about Clover, but I couldn't help but hear, like, Dofi talking about history, righteousness, and all that being determined by the winners. Justice is declared by those who win. I want Dofi to come back into play, okay? Favorite villain, cool family, loved his arc. I need him back. Yeah, then Vegapunk says, and the voices at the bottom of the sea are very faint, or something like that. And I'm like, voices at the bottom of the sea? He's then talking about how Roger would have heard the message from the purest source. So if the voices at the bottom of the sea are very faint, are the ones at Laugh-Tale the purest source? Is Laugh-Tale, you know where we have Ennis Lobby and it's like a hole directly down? Do we go down the hole to the center, to the bottom of the ocean? Is it a path to the bottom of the ocean with the currents like we got to Fishman Island to get down there? I feel like it's not a literal, the ocean's blocking the sound, so it's very diluted if the voices were to get up there. I don't even think it's actual voices. The voice of all things, is the voice of all things like an echo through time? Because we had time travel, things being sent forward, with Momo's mother. So, like, are the voice of all things just something like someone said something in the past, and that's now echoing into the present for other people to hear? Getting really into my disappointments with this chapter. So the Sunny is trying to take off, but Horse Gorosei is blocking them, and they really don't have either enough fuel or the distance. If anything is off, the wind's not in their favor, then they're not going to make it. They'll crash. We are not risking the Sunny. So instead, Atlas ends up coming out, knocking out Lilith, punching her out of nowhere, disconnecting her from Punk Records. Why they can't just disconnect themselves to hide from York, who's tracking them through Punk Records, I don't know. Because clearly York had been hiding secrets, so she must not have been uploading everything to Punk Records, so I'm assuming you're able to disconnect yourself. That just makes sense to me. But apparently you need to be knocked unconscious to be disconnected. And then Atlas tells them, protect Lilith. At all costs, protect her. And Robin. They didn't say and Robin, but she's crying, listens to the transponder snail, hearing about Clover, and how he too had the D in his name, and she's remembering her friends and loved ones that she lost in O'Hara. So also protect Robin, just saying. So they get Lilith inside, and Zoro orders them to take off. Jinbei's at the wheel, love that, and they're taking off while Atlas stays back to fight Horse Gorosei. She loses an arm during this fight. And then explosion, which allows the Sunny to actually make it, and it drops down with the giant ship with the Spider Gorosei currently on top of them, staring at Bonnie and Kuma. Don't like that. Stay away from Bonnie and Kuma. She's just a little girl. And Atlas, see, this is where my main criticism comes in. I wish the satellites had been set up better, because I would have adored for us to learn little bits about them and realize, like, this is parts of what Vegapunk was. For Vegapunk's message to them to somehow include, you are my expression of wrath, you are my expression of love, of goodness, of hatred. You're all little pieces of me, but you have grown into your own unique individual selves. You are different than me, you're unique, kind of go into that. But exploring their personalities would be like exploring a part of Vegapunk, so it would set them all up together. Instead, we kind of focus on Vegapunk, which I adore, because through his flashbacks, seeing him as the government scientist, seeing him with dragons, seeing him with Clover, seeing him with Kuma especially, and Kizaru, I love the development that we've gotten for Vegapunk. Completely fleshed out character. I've seen his arc, I've seen him come full circle with how he's now risking his life like a lunatic to get the message of the Void Century to the last history of the world out there, but at the same time not judging anything, because he knows that we can't judge a 900-year war by just one perspective. There's other things going on, stuff that he doesn't know, and he's not the type of person who would extrapolate and predict he just wants to give the facts right now. I want him to go full tinfoil hat and tell me what he thinks is going on, but fair, that's not his personality. But without connecting the individual satellites to him and talking about how they're different, how they grow, how they're unique, they all feel interchangeable. There's no difference to me between Lilith, Edison, Atlas. They're all the exact same character. We had the traitor York, but short of that, they're not developed in any sense, and I despise that. The murder mystery, as they're all getting picked off, was not good at all for me, just because it's just like, what do I care? You've just picked off another one. You're all interchangeable. So now for Atlas to make this grand sacrifice, first of all, I don't even trust that they're dead, because when Horse Gorosei is just like, oh, you're sacrificing yourself now? She's like, nah, just good service, or something like that. First of all, I don't trust Oda to kill off a character, because when they are killed off, it's just, well, you got a funeral or a body or something, it's just like, okay, so they actually are dead, but I didn't trust the actual death scene because we've had too many fake-out deaths. And I just don't feel like Atlas is dead right now, and if they turn out to actually be dead, I will have missed the emotional impact, which never really would have happened because I don't care anything about Atlas or Edison as characters, because they're not developed to any extent that I care about. I like Lilith's design. I liked how she was introduced with the Sea Beast and sort of being a pirate to get money to fund her research, so that's a little bit of development there, so I'm happy that she was the one to survive, as I at least have that one moment to develop her personality and everything. But Egghead has fallen short in this one aspect of developing the Vegapunks. That is my only criticism of this arc. Everything else has been flawless. It is not going to deteriorate from how much I love this arc. In fact, Egghead is probably going to be within my top 5, if not top 3. Absolutely adore this arc. I just wish we had set up all the individual Vegapunks differently, better, took more time to flesh them out, because again, developing them would help develop Vegapunk. If we only developed Vegapunk, that didn't make me care about the offshoots. So I'm just saying, my little rant is over, okay? Giant robot. I'm not ranting about this because nothing has happened yet. But, okay, Luffy. Excited. Obviously, Frankie, Sanji, everyone loves the giant robot. We love the giant robot. Very excited for that. And, giant robot, whose name we learned last chapter, and I totally remember, is fighting the Gorosei, but his armor is rusted. It's 900 years old, maybe 200 when it attacked Marijois, and it's faulty and it can't unleash the attack, so it ends up like losing an arm. And it's fighting the snake and boar, and it's all a delight. And it's so happy to be fighting for Joy Boy again. And I love the humor of Luffy just going, Joy Boy? Who's Joy Boy? You're talking to me? I'm Luffy. He's just floating around having no idea who he is, what he represents, the worship that is felt around him. He's just like, I'm Monkey D. Luffy. Where are you going on with? Hi, giant robot, though. If you want to fight for me, yeah, we can fight together. Love fighting. I love Luffy. He's so sweet. Sweet boy. And then the iron robot is just like, you told me a long time ago that this is to be used in a certain situation, a certain circumstance. I think this counts. I'm assuming that he has a self-destruct sequence in him that will be like a final sacrifice so everyone get away. Because we got too many Gorosei going on down here. We were only able to shoot off the bird one. He's somewhere between us and Enel on the moon, somewhere in between. The only way I can see them getting out of this, if the Iron Robot's regular weapons are not working, would be giant explosion worth taking them out. We could also destroy the transponder snail, which means we can't recover it to get Vegapunk's full message, if that's even a possibility. I don't expect it to be a possibility, but it was at least an option that would never have been taken for the narrative of the story. But we just got the Iron Robot. We spent so many chapters just seeing him walking through the forest, so many chapters of him waking up, the heartbeats waking him up, and being a connection to Joy Boy, possibly a member of his crew, possibly a soul put in there. I don't know what he is. And if we lose him next chapter with an explosion, like all that setup would have felt like for nothing. So I'm praying that's not what's going to happen. Or there is a soul in Giant Robot which will then transfer to something, maybe the snail that's inside him, and we can take that on our journey, and it can just be talking to Luffy as Joy Boy. I don't know. I don't know what I want, but I don't want to lose the Iron Robots after we just got them. We also know that the giants and everybody cannot hear Iron Robot talking, so the voice of all things must be involved, which kind of doesn't work out to my random thought previously of the voice of all things being like an echo of the past, because you can't communicate with an echo. And very clearly, Luffy is talking to the Iron Giant. They're having a little back and forth, so that's not it. The chapter ends with Vegapunk saying, like, my view for the future is... And then it's cut off. I want to know what he thinks about the future. Watch it be something like all those with the will of D be exterminated, or the ancient weapons be exterminated. Something that we would not expect. Like, that goes against everything we think we know about Joy Boy, to make us question if everything we think we know is wrong. I want it to be a giant turn, not what we're expecting. I don't want it to be something like we expect, for us all to rise up against the government and like a message to the people to revolt. I don't want anything obvious like that. I want it to be completely unexpected. And I also don't want, I want a peaceful future, yada yada. Just like, I don't know what I want, but I want to be surprised, and I trust Oda to do that. But then, at the very bottom of the panel, we have Pirates in Jail talking about, hey, what do you mean Gold D Roger? Isn't he Gold Roger? Like, what's going on? So the secret that the D is hidden in his name, that the government purposely suppressed that, definitely is not common knowledge. How they don't know that because of Ace. Like, we know Ace is Gold Roger's son, so he has the D in his name. So the fact that people haven't put that together, unless they're smarter than I was and be like, oh, he got it from his mother, even though he got it from both sides. I don't know. I don't know where the story is going to go. No genuine complaints. Like I said, my issue with the Vegapunks not being set up. That's it. That's my only complaint. I assume when... I hope we don't get giant explosion that destroys the Iron Giant. But once we get away, we're off to Elbaf. I want a detour where the man with the burn scar that opened up whirlpools comes in so we can learn more about that. I really want him to show up soon. I want to go to, like, Davy Jones' locker. Please give me Davy Jones' locker. Yeah, Oda got me on the edge of my seat, though. Despite me not overly loving this chapter as much as other chapters, I'm still very, very excited for what's going to happen next, and even just moments in this. So that's all I got. Appreciate your patience, and talk to you later.